Emporium, and we are in our second week of our Halloween horror month, where we are looking at the lesser films of Clive Barker, and only by lesser do I mean in most categories, but uh, not the big names ones, the lesser known ones. So we are continuing that. Last week we talked about Rawhead Rex. And this week we're going to be talking about technically his first film. He also wrote and directed by the same gentleman who directed Rawhead Rex. Only, to me anyway, a much better film. Uh, UnderWorld, also known as Mutations, Transmutations. Yes, Transmutations. Um, this is from 1995. Again, directed by George Parlu. Written by Clive Barker. Has some bigger English and kind of not really at the time, but legacy actors. Denholm Elliott, who you would know from he played the character of Brody, I think. Yeah, Professor Brody from the Indiana Jones series. Um, uh, Stephen Bernhardt from he was the villain in Beverly Hills Cop, and he's an Octopussy. Ingrid Pitt from the original Wicker Man, as well as the Vampire Lovers. Um, and what's so fun? This was I'd never seen this one before. This was a complete surprise for me. It just recently got a release, and boy, they're just like, this is Clive Barker's Underworld. Um, and excuse me, I gotta tell you, I really enjoyed it. It's a fun little 80s movie, and what's so interesting about it is something that I think Clive Barker would do later, because you have a character in this movie, um, who is very much kind of the prototype for what Harry D'Amour, probably Clive Barker's second biggest character behind Pinhead. He's like a neo noir private detective who finds himself in these kind of like he's kind of Clive Barker's John Constantine. Shows up in a couple of books, of course, and has his big face off with Pinhead in the Scarlet Gospels. Uh, do not worry, we'll be talking about Harry D'Amour later on in the month. But this character in this movie is very much a prototype for that character, in as much as he's like this retired company man, kind of a detective who is brought in to find a missing woman. She is kidnapped by these odd looking people who kind of look like they should be on, the surface of Mars entertaining Quado. And what's fun about this one is it's filmed very much, and I think mostly it's just like the filming of it. It feels like it's filmed like a Tales from the Crypt episode. Um, but like the seventh season of Tales from the Crypt, where they were all filmed in England. So, and for whatever reason, we just filmed England like it was disgusting. Um, but yeah, it involves um all the kind of the tropes that you'd expect in a neo noir or an old fashioned noir, or even much. You have the private detective. You have this woman who's kind of the femme fatale, but she's also the our lady in distress. You have this shady company man and his underlings. Um, that are have been they've hired him to find her, but also like what are they doing? Um, including Ingrid Pitt running like this weird brothel. Denholm Elliott is a doctor who has created this elixir that um is highly addictive and will actually turn people into mutants, which is um what has led to our group of kidnappers. They're all like very bizarre looking. There's one guy, I think they call him Mr. White. He looks like well, if I made the joke about Rawhead Rex looking like a member of Kiss midway turning into a werewolf, um this is an even worse version of somebody turning into a werewolf, only this time he's blonde. There's a character named Doodoo, which kind of took me out of the movie just because I'm an immature child and calling them Doodoo like that. Um, it also brings this weird like the female character you find out has these like powers. The drug that she's been given has given her these powers where she's able to like manipulate your dreams, and there's all this talk about these manifestations of your rage. It's a really weird amalgamation of like the Island of Dr. Moreau, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and The Brood, with a little bit of neo noir marked in it, and everybody in this movie dressed like they came directly off the set of The Hunger. Like it's a really fun '80s, like superly stylized '80s kind of horror movie that I think was just lost for a long time. Of course, having two titles will do that. I'm a sucker for neo noir. Obviously, we have a whole month dedicated to it coming up. So to find one that was, especially coming off of Rawhead Rex, which I know a lot of people like, and it's a lot of fun, but it's really kind of like not not a fantastic film. Uh, and then be like, well, people have heard of that. Nobody's heard of this. Oh, what is it going to be? I actually enjoyed this movie a lot more than I was expecting to. I think now you can find it streaming pretty easily. I think I got it off of Prime, maybe either Prime or Fandango at home. Voodoo. It's a Voodoo. I'm changing names on stuff that I've called for years. Um, Fandango at home. But no, and it's under Clive Barker's Underworld. So, without getting to too specific of spoilers of like how the story goes, more than I have, I would tell you that it's a fun one to look up if you're wanting a fun kind of underappreciated kind of a lost '80s kind of detective story with an amalgamation of a lot of other bigger horror tropes in it. Behind with the backsplash of it being like a detective story. I really recommend it. It was a lot of fun. And that is going to do it for this week's on talking about Clive Barker's Underworld. Next week, we talk about a movie that sadly came out at the exact wrong time with the exact wrong title. We dive into the kind of misfortune of a very underrated film, The Midnight Meat Train. So you definitely don't want to miss that. Also, don't forget we are doing these every week. So like, subscribe, share with your friends. The end of this month, Nick and I are doing a deep dive into both televised versions of Stephen King's The Stand. Hence why we're talking Clive Barker on the main videos. You're not going to miss that live because we're getting super into The Stand, both book and both versions of the TV series. You're not going to miss that. Big things coming up as well in November, so make sure you're liking and subscribing. Share with your friends. Let's get some more people in here. Let's get that subscriber count up. All the YouTube words, and I will see you guys next week for the Midnight Meat Train. Hopefully the algorithm doesn't shut that down. We'll see you then. Bye.